This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles. Thank you very much for keeping with us this morning. Let's jump into whatever it is that you are waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies before we get into our big conversation. I'm going to start with the Daily Nation, and this is the big headline here. State House spy software dealers passport revoke. One Kenyan Mary Washuka, who has sued 4 senior government officials, including the head of public service and the president's speechwriter, over a botched 123 million spying software deal that has protested that authorities have cancelled her Kenyan passport. She has linked the action to the high-stakes suit, alleging an attempt to twist her into dropping her claim. Story has been covered on page 4 and 5. And this is what she's saying, that looking at the events, I'm convinced that someone wants me to feel intimidated and drop the case in court. She's seeking 292 million shillings in compensation. We're going to talk about that this morning shortly before we jump into our big conversation with our guests in the studio. Also, Shiv abandons failed system after uproar. That story has been covered on page 8. Now, the Social Health and Insurance Fund, Shiv, will reintroduce biometric identification of patients to replace the troubled one-time password OTP system blamed for delays. That story has been covered on page 8. Good. On page 3, you're going to read on a ruling on Kenyan children sired by British soldiers to open Pandora's box. That story has been covered on page 3. Also, a story here on page 7 on how Tycoons buy into 45 billion shillings driving licenses contractor. Story has been covered on page 2. All right, let's jump then into what we have on the Standard this morning. The Standard has also now given a story on Jogoo House wars. That's the big story here. A silent but escalating power struggle is paralyzing the Ministry of Education, where Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba is being openly contradicted by his 2 principal secretaries, who seem too powerful. From fee guidelines to ghost schools and curriculum policy, the confusion is deepening, leaving parents, students, and members of parliament questioning who really controls the educational agenda. That story has been covered on page 4. Also on page 6, Hustler Fund, an economic sinkhole. Now, the civil society wants Hustler Fund scrapped, citing massive losses, high defaults, and claims of political in scathing new report. That story has been covered on page 6. Now, page 8, 65 billion shillings debt cripples health fund. Now, hospitals now are owed 65 billion shillings, staff salaries delayed, and millions of patients denied care as SHA's shaky finances threaten to derail the universal health dream before it can fully take off. That story has been covered on page 8 of the Standard. Good. Let me then introduce the gentlemen who are joining us this morning for our conversation this morning. It's a man that I spoke a long time ago. Nabiswa Brown, how are you doing, sir? Happy to have you around in the studio. Karibu sana. Also joining him this morning, we do have Youth Chair, the United Opposition, Ken Babu. How are you doing, sir?
Morning, bro. It feels great to be here once again.
Happy to have you
since I
around.
was in this bench.
Happy to have you around.
Asante.
Gentlemen, I want to throw you directly into what we have in our dailies this morning before we jump into a conversation this morning. And I would like to start with the Standard. That's where we are. And I would like to begin with Hustler Fund, a story that has been covered on page 6. Ken, now the civil society wants the fund scrapped, and they're saying it is citing massive losses, high defaults, and claims of political misuse in a scathing new report. Your quick views on that?
You know, Simba, Hustler Fund has been a scandal from the onset. From the inauguration point of it was not deemed to, to make anything meaningful into the lives of Kenyans. Because how do you borrow 500 and in pretext to start a business? What kind of business are you going to do with that thing? Because if you borrow that 500, you have not been taxed. You not, I mean, by the time you even think of starting a business with it, you'd already consumed the entire money. And then if you look at the management system of that money, there is no proper, there is no accountability on where the money is going to, where the refunds are going to. The other time, government said that they waived those who are not paid, and people are now free to borrow and borrow, keep borrowing. You know, for me, where I sit, Hustler Fund is just within the government structures, and it's benefiting certain individuals are the ones who are benefiting from it, not necessarily Kenyans. So I agree with that report, and it's high time that the Hustler Fund be put away so that we can have, if it's about empowerment, I believe there's many structures and ways in which the government can conduct empowerment and offer soft loans to Kenyans, maybe through SACCOs. Yeah.
Pretty much. Nabi Soberan, your sentiments on that?
Elijah, Hustler Fund was the good idea to Kenyans, especially the middle class who have been depending on other forums for borrowing. Yes. But now, for me, I feel the management of the fund is not being done in a proper way. Yes. So the best way, they need to have a good structures, maybe establish a body just in charge of managing Hustler Fund to ensure that the credibility is correct, so that we can be able, as the country and the state can be able to do audits to ensure that the beneficiaries are doing it, who are getting the funds are using it in a proper way. Also, considering that it's a fund which is meant to help Kenyans, and there was an introduction of the same category of a fund which intends to assist the business people, those who want to do the business, to get the fund. So when it comes to management, if they can have the best structures and a credible body to manage the funds, can ensure that those people who are getting the fund are getting proper training, if it is in entrepreneurship, agriculture, agribusiness, so that they can offer educative, they can give education to those people who are using who are getting the funds, to use them in the correct way. But at the moment, it seems that there is no proper management, and what the people who have come out to say that this fund should be scrapped, probably they feel like the management of the fund is not good. So instead of scrapping it, they need to come up with a correct framework of managing the fund.
That's it.
But let me ask you.
Yes.
Where did we get this Hustler thing? We all know where we got the Hustler issue. So this fund, from the word Hustler Fund, and then the maximum they can give is 500 or 700. My brother, it's a con game. It's been a con game from the onset. The hustler himself is the one benefiting, not the hustlers that we are anticipating, but the founder of Hustler. We know the founder of Hustler in this country, the chief hustler, is the one who's been eating this money through cronies. So we cannot run away. The report is clear. Poor management. There is no there's no accountability. There's no transparency. You cannot trace where the money is going to. The money is going to Hustler's account.
Let's move into the next story this morning. And Babu, I want to stick with you as well.
Okay.
It's on SHA this morning. Hospitals are owed 65 billion shillings. This one goes into salaries and other equipment that is supposed to make these hospitals run. And that story has been covered on page 8. They're saying that this amount of money that is owed to hospitals, it would make the SHA, or the Universal Healthcare Program, that was the biggest project by one President, Dr. William Ruto, stop even before it takes full effect. 65 billion shillings in a debt to hospitals across the country. What's your sentiment on that?
You know, Simba, I think from where I sit and
yes.
the observation I've made since this government came into power to now, they've never been intentional about dealing with the issues of health. You know, this thing might not make sense to somebody who lives in Nairobi and can walk into hospital and go into the villages, go to Mashinani, and see how families are struggling to even raise 1,000 shillings to take somebody to, a chemist.
Yes.
To get to a pharmacy. it's very bad. It's in a very bad situation. People are really struggling with medical bills. Harambes are still done. May I receive phone calls? I receive messages. Well, I'm added in. I get involved in a WhatsApp group every day. New WhatsApp groups. If you check out on the, the description, fundraising towards paying bills or so. So you see, these people are not doing this because that's what they want to do. It's a clear indication that SHA from the onset has not been implemented fully, and it has not been operationalized fully. And there's only a clique of few people with connections who are getting used to it. The other time it was on record when PS said that the families approached me, I made a call, and the issue was addressed, and SHA worked for them. You get that? Macarena is on record, the Meru guy. After preaching that SHA is working until the day he got sick and was bedridden at Aga Khan, that's when he realized that actually SHA is not working. He was there for 1 week. When he stepped out, the first comment he made, he said that this government has duped us. SHA is no longer working. So what we are asking, if that's, the debt, 65 billion, that is owed to hospitals, and remember where you are working, you are always deducted.
Yes.
That's SHA.
Yes.
I'm deducted SHA. He's deducted SHA. All 53 million Kenyans, those who are working, the working class, everybody is paying for that SHA. You get that? Even those who are not working and are registered are paying for that SHA. Where is the money going to? If, let's say, each Kenyan was paying 500 shillings. So the question is, who is handling the accounts of SHA? It's on record. When when they were doing the rebranding, they said that even their, in fact, Auditor General said that even their SHA accounts, SHIF and SHA accounts, are not managed by the government. They are managed by private individuals. So you ask yourself, is SHA a government project or an individual project meant to siphon money from Kenyans? Those are questions that Mr. William Ruto should come out and explain to us. And those are the reasons as why Kenyans are insisting that he should be a one-term president. Because he cannot explain simple issues like this. People are asking you, we've paid for this thing, let's say we paid 500, but still we are having debts on this. Where is the money? Is it a conveyor belt for people, Kenyans to pay and somebody to eat on behalf of Kenyans? Those are the questions we are asking. Yes. So if all Kenyans are going to pay for SHA,
yes,
and the hospitals are not getting money, then there's a cocoon in between Kenyans and the hospitals. Hapo katikati, there's a group of people who are siphoning that money and doesn't reach and to serve its intended purpose. That's why we are saying the Ministry of Health, led by Aden Duale, who is not a health practitioner anyway. We still up to date. We still have issues on how he arrived at that. At that docket. And the Auditor General should work hand in hand. But Auditor General has come out clearly that and said that the accounts are not managed by the government.
Yes.
Now it is Aden Duale who represents the government in that ministry, and President William Ruto to come and tell Kenyans where is the money going to.
Azem Abeswa, 65 billion, and this report says that it might cripple SHA even before it fully takes off.
You know, one thing we must agree, Elijah, that currently the healthcare system in the country is not working as expected, owing to the money that Kenyans are remitting towards the health scheme. Now, from where I sit, I feel like the problem that came is rushing the programs. By the time they shifted from NHIF to SHA, they would have given time, because they shifted to SHA when the systems were not even in place. So you realize that most of the hospitals, healthcare facilities are themselves struggling to set up the systems. When we come to the question of the 65 billion, you know, we've had scandals in this country around the previously NHIF. You know, coming where hospitals come up with how the hospitals come up with these figures on how they charge the patients. You know, doing the audit maybe we've had issues whereby some hospitals end up overcharging clients and so. So the problem, maybe the problem which is there, we find that the government sometimes takes time to ascertain the amounts they have to remit. There was a time we had the chief cabinet secretary questioning a hospital in Kiambu. How comes how comes a small hospital in Kiambu is requesting a higher amount from NHIF or SHA compared to what Kenyatta National Hospital is requesting. So sometimes probably the hospitals usually end up overcharging because we've had complaints. When you go to that receipt, you try to go through, you realize that the figures are not reasonable. Yes. But that's not that's not part of the conversation. Okay, it's not that important. For me, I feel like this system they should have taken time to ensure that they have correct measures in place to, so that when they roll it out, we should not experience such kind of setbacks we are experiencing now. We have to agree that it's working to some extent, but not fully as expected, the way NHIF and SHA, NHIF used to work.
Yes.
The idea behind SHA itself, look at the composition and what it covers. It's a brilliant idea. But the systems, and I want to agree to some extent with my colleague Ken, is that you see how the government currently is running the affairs around all the funds we have. I suspect that the same way they are doing with the NSSF and probably the housing levy, if I can borrow leave from there, they sold us an idea that housing fund will be purely for making houses, but they ended up telling us that this housing fund can do other projects, maybe building roads and others. So I suspect that the government is directing the funds made for health to other projects. So that's why now they are struggling to get funds to remit to hospitals. And as we always say that there are some sectors which are very key to the state, health sector being one of it. So it's just an inquest that they should work around it. We don't want to hear, or we don't want to expect such kind of reports from the public that the government is messing up with the health system.
Pretty much. Just because of the sake of time, because I want you to weigh in on a big conversation this morning, Ken, even before you step out of the studio this morning. I'm actually working with your time. Let's look at that last story. I'm going to give you just a minute each to respond to it, so that we jump into a big conversation this morning. That's exactly why you're here this morning, Ken. Guess what? Silent wars at Jogo House between the principal secretaries and the cabinet secretary, Reyes Ogamba, the CS Education. 1 minute to weigh in on that. That up to now, the ministry is confused. They do not know who's running it. Is it the PSS or the CS?
Simba, let me tell you one thing from the point of a politician.
Yes.
Most of the cabinet secretaries are not put in place to do anything. They represent the political wing of the executive.
That's it.
Get that? If you look at Migos Ogamba, he's a representation of key Cs in government of Kenya, of William Ruto. If that is why the Aden Duale is not a doctor, and he's the minister for health.
For health.
He's representing his region political interest in the government of William Ruto. He's not necessarily doing the work he should do. If Ruto goes to Garissa today, he will tell them, we have your guy in the Ministry of Health. Hey, that's enough. But the works are done by the PSS. Get that? The scandal that is about to burst out in the Ministry of Education, the two PSS, if you look at them, Bello Kipsang served as the PS for basic education for the longest time.
Yes.
And it is during his time that we had ghost schools, we had capitations to schools that do not exist, and recently we saw a capitation of about 50 million to Bomet Secondary School, Bomet High School, which has never existed since independence. So what I'm saying is this: Migos Ogamba is doing nothing. He has not been given any responsibility apart from appearing in a press conference and issuing the government position. But the nitty-gritties and the financial decisions are made by the PSS under the instructions and guidance of their master, William Ruto.
Pretty much. 1 minute as well, Nabiso Brand, this morning before we jump into a big conversation.
You know, the problem sometimes we have is the political stature of the people we put in the ministries. So you look at the PS and the PS we have. For instance, currently we have this is Bitok.
Yes, Bitok.
Bello Kipsang is no longer in education. So you look, maybe it's because of political stature of the three. So probably you look at someone like Bitok, he's a politician, and you compare him to Professor. So that fight of who is bigger than another one in terms of the political appearance is the issue that is broiling around the Minister of Education, which should not be the case, Elijah. Yes. What we expect is the people put in these offices, they have their description, they know what to do. The minister has his roles, he knows what he's supposed to do. The PS is principally the accounting officer of the ministry. So I don't see the reason why these people should be fighting. And this is the reason now we have the president as the chief of the executive, who should be there to guide and crack the whip if he feels that there is someone who is creating the frictions in the ministry. And when we have such kind of ministries, Elijah, nothing will move, which is key to this country crippling.
Pretty much. Right now, gentlemen, if you can allow me, then that's exactly what it is that you're waking up to on your dailies this morning. Let's jump into our big conversation this morning. That's why we have Nabiso Bryan and Senator Ken Babu in the studio this morning. Now, this is what we have to look. If you look at the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, it promised real change under Article 55. It actually guaranteed youth the right to participate fully in a political, social, and economic life. Article 100 further compels Parliament to pass laws that ensure youth representation in elective and appointive bodies. And yet, despite making over 75% of Kenya's population, only just a handful hold meaningful power in parliament, county governments, or political party structures. Now, youth platforms in Kenya, like the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, that's the KYPA, and Youth Senate Kenya exist, but many question whether they carry a legislative function or weight. Meanwhile, the National Youth Council is only now preparing for elections after, now wait for it, a 12-year gap, despite that being provided for in the Kenyan law. Are Kenya's youth platforms empowering the next generation of leaders or simply managing youthful frustration? That is the question that we're asking this morning. All right, then let me then jump into that conversation. Ken, I want to start with you. And by the way, there was a time last year where we had this conversation and we thought that this was going to change. Let me ask you, if you look at Article 55, which guarantees youth the right to participate in all spheres of life, in your view, are we realizing this constitutional promise? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You respond to it, we take a break, and then come back and continue with this conversation.
Thank you, Simba. And I think it's a crucial conversation, and it's coming at the right time, where now young people are also gearing towards getting into the political space, elective and everything.
Yes.
Article 55 has not been implemented to the fullest. And in fact, let me tell you, if we had leaders who respect the Constitution in position, this Article 55 could have been ended, and the truth, issues around two-third gender could have been issues of the past. Because let's start from the executive. The president has the mandate to appoint or nominate people who sit in the executive. We didn't see any young person being nominated for any position in the CS. That's the mandate within him. And there's no constitutional requirement that you must be a certain age for you to be a waziri. You know that? Recently, after demonstrations, they brought in Muga, who is a fairly young person. But we were saying that in accordance with the Article 55, which clearly stipulates the age of a youth, the president has the powers to decide, to nominate or appoint a young person in the cabinet. If you look at the PSS, they brought in Fikirini Jacobs, but with zero budget. Get that? You know, there's no need of putting Simba in a position, but then deny him budget. The issue around National Youth Council, personally, I've been on the front line pushing for the elections of National Youth Council. We brushed shoulders with many people on that issue because it is the intention of government to sabotage anything progressive about the young people in this country as of now, today. The National Youth Council has not been functional for the last 12 years. We've had acting CEOs come and go, with moribund secretariat doing absolutely nothing. The council has a capacity to employ up to 100 young people. As of today, they have about 6 to 7 secretariat, but they receive a budget to service a secretariat of 100. So you ask yourself, what the budget going to? Who is earning the money? Where's the accountability? But when you ask these questions, people inside feel like you are now threatening their occupations, and they brand you as an opposition or something like that.
Yes.
So I want to tell you that Kenya Kwanza regime and the government as it is today, the broad base, there is no intentional. They are not intentional towards implementing and pushing for the youth space in leadership and political space. And that's why when the Gen Zs erupted, many young people are so much angered with the regime as it exists, because they realize that there is a gap of even channel of communication. Whatever young people are pushing for on the streets ought to have been addressed by the National Youth Council at the grassroots level, because National Youth Council structures as it is should start from the ward level. So then young people ought to have pushed their issues from the ward level to the constituency, to the national level,
yes,
and to the presidency. But because there's no clear structure on that, people opted to go to the streets. Conclave to bring young people together and dialogue with the old guys and everything. People, the youth, have been so clear on the issues that they are pushing for. That is accountability, transparency, respect to the law, constitutionality, end of corruption. Get that? You cannot then convert them again, a select of 1,880 people, to discuss issues affecting 75% of the country. 75%? You want to select few, 1,880, and then you want to say that those are representation of the people? I want to tell you that if that thing of conclave, they push it, the way they're just stamping and boasting around it,
yes,
it will erupt into another demonstration.
Pretty much. Guess what? Once we come back, Nabiso O'Brien, you're going to pick it from there. We'll be looking at whether Article 55 that guarantees youth the right to participate in all spheres of life in an economy or state are guaranteed. That's the question. Are they there? Once we come back, Nabiso O'Brien and Senator Ken Babu.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Start your day with a workout routine, an exciting moment of exercise that is simple but powerful for your ultimate fitness. Build your strength, shape and body muscles with lunges, push-ups, squats, burpees, planks, dumbbells and more. Let's work out every Monday to Saturday from 6:30 a.m. on Fitness Zone, a one surefire way to attack your fitness regimen effectively.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Lookup TV.
Question, which is the youth question, and we're talking about youth representation within the country. Now, this one, Ken did say, well, Article 55 has not been fully implemented. Do you have the same sentiments, or you would like to differ?
Yes. Lydia, you look at Article 55 itself. It has a lot of limitations when it comes to issues of representation of the youths. It doesn't give that, it's not that strong enough that even we ourselves today can stand on to look for legal way, requesting for our position in representation. You look at how it goes, I can say it's just a scarecrow. And you look at it deeply, I get satisfaction that the Constitution of Kenya, it's either not fully implemented, there is no intention of implementing it, it's not fully implemented, or it's just there as a formality.
Yes.
Because how can it state in it that the youths have to be represented? And nobody is willing, because we've given leaders a chance to assist us spearhead the implementation of that constitution. But nobody is willing to ensure that it's implemented. Either the executive, be it the parliament, even the judiciary. Today, you look at how the government appointments are being done. And it's not only today. Since we got in this new constitution, we cannot say that there was a time when we got a fair share of us as the youths, even 30%. At least during Kibaki's time, we can say that it's the time where we got the youth fund, it's the time where we got a stronger, and even that's the only time we had the elections of the National Youth Council. But going all through from that time, nothing has been done. The only thing that is that happens in the country right now, when today we sit here with Ken, we know that the Katiba has given us a chance and has given us leeway to be represented. Yes. When we stand up to request for that chance of implementing that part of getting being represented by one of our own or ourselves, we know what usually happens. The force that is used to counter us. So what I can say is the Constitution has not been implemented fully, especially that part of Article 55, which gives us that chance of having our own representative. Actually, democratically and in terms of representation, you look at those countries which have a strong democracy, they build the youth representation cadre. Look at even South Africa. They have given the youths their chance of representation through the youth league,
yes,
from the grassroots all the way to the national level. Look at the countries like Nigeria. Look at, so, and that's why you see how they transit and get fierce leadership who are able to stand and speak on the issues of the country and lead the country. In this country, when we had a strong youth representation, where the youths were able to speak, and they were speaking freely, the likes of those old days, the likes of James Orengo, the likes of Raila Odinga, those days, you see how we got that crop of leaders. They got that space of speaking. That's why now they came up strongly. They took that opportunity, and during their time of leadership, you can see how they have been able to represent the people, to represent the country in terms of lawmaking and leadership. So what we are asking here is, we need that part to be implemented. And also, I feel like when they call for a referendum, we also feel like that part of youth representation is the part that really needs to be relooked upon. Because when you look at the structures of National Youth Council, it meant to give a chance for youths to be represented all the way from the grassroots to the national level. But currently, who are proactive around the leadership of the country, like my good friend Ken, is the one now who can get that chance of having an idea of how the National Youth League works. But how about those people who are in mashinani? They even don't have, they have no idea whether we have something like National Youth Council. Yes. So this is now the thing that we request and we are pushing for, to ensure that we have a working National Youth Council. Yes. Now from there, it will give a chance for us to represent ourselves on the issues which affects us. Because I don't agree, Elijah, that someone else from a different generation will be sitting on that table discussing issues affecting someone who is way behind his generation. Like now we are talking about the Gen Zs. How will someone like Oburu Odinga understand the issues affecting the Gen Zs, discuss the issues affecting the Gen Z? That's why now you see them speaking, when they speak in parliament, they say that we don't have, that the youths, the Gen Zs don't have good manners, they were not brought up well, because they don't understand us. So when we are allowed to be represented, when the article is fully implemented and give an opportunity for one of us, or a few of us, or many of us to be on that table, we will be able to table the issues affecting us the way they are.
That's it.
Yeah.
Babu, on the same as well, we do have the Kenya Young Parliamentarian Association. It's actually an association that exists in this country. You also look at the Kenya Youth Council that was essentially meant to promote youth representation. Why do you think they have failed to actually promote youth representation?
Actually, around Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, which is commonly referred to as KYPA.
Yes.
KYPA has got a membership of 60 elected and nominated members of parliament within the age bracket of youth. And I can tell you, I can be on record for this, KYPA is on record on offering not only youth-led policies, pushing youth-led policies in the parliament, but also offering platforms for young leaders and aspirants and students to be trained on how to formulate motions, statements, and memos. In the event that a parliament requests for submission of memos, KYPA has trained young people across the country to capacity build them to be able to submit those memos. You see, sometimes it's not.
Babu, but that effect, it's not felt. I mean, if they're training youth across the country, then the tangible that we should be taking home is that, well, majority of these youth are rising to take up these positions.
Definitely, that's where I'm coming from.
Yes.
I'm coming to. KYPA was operationalized in 2013.
Yes.
And Johnson Sakaja was the chair then, nominated. Between 2013 and 2017, KYPA had about 20 members.
That's it.
Between 2017 and 2022, KYPA has got 60 members.
Yes.
So you can see the trajectory. It's increasing. And having talked to them and listened to their CEO and the chairman of the KYPA, Honorable Mkunji Gitonga, the MP for Manyata, there's a clear plan. And even yesterday they had a meeting with, they hosted about 50 young aspirants from across the country with an intention of building their capacity on training them on different areas of fundraising, campaign financing, messaging, so that they are able to communicate to the ground on where they need to be elected. Because going forward, you're not going to be elected because you're popular. No, you'll be elected because you are speaking to the issues of the people and you are showing an intention of actually offering solution. Yeah. Not that because you are known, so okay, we elect you. So KYP is on record on that, and listening to them and looking at how they are operating and and the activities they are running right now, I believe that in the long run, KYP will be able to have at least 100 members of parliament, young, yes, in the next elections.
That's it.
Now let me tell you, the issues around young people are very many and they cuts across. That's why when I have a sit down with the youth, whether you are in Kenya Kwanza or in the opposition, one thing that must come out clear is the fact that when there is unemployment, it does not choose people in the opposition.
Yes.
Neither does it choose people in the government. Brutality recently, they were shooting and they were killing even people who voted for them. Hear that? So it is no, issues of young people are cross-cutting, and there are issues that if we are going to face them, we must address them collectively.
Yes.